Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about Bryan Callen, who's known for doing a podcast called The Fighter and the Kid. I guess he's known as the Kid, even though you could tell he desperately wishes he was the fighter, and he wants people to think of him as some tough guy who's always getting into street fights, and he thinks everyone should be careful around him, and I don't know, maybe he is a good fighter or something, but he just tries way too hard, and you could tell half the stories he tells are just made up, or at least exaggerated, and usually everyone on the podcast is aware of that, and they just think it's funny when he tells these stories, and they goof on him, and they know he's just full of shit, and they don't really take him that seriously, especially because a lot of the people they have on the podcast are actual fighters, and obviously his co-host is an actual fighter. I mean, it's the fighter and the kid. He's known as the Kid, and I don't know why he's called the Kid, especially because he's like 20 years older than his co-host on the podcast. But I do know one time he told a story about fighting some kids, so maybe that's why. Maybe he's just known for beating up kids or something. And this was a really bizarre story he told, and I'm like 95% sure it was made up, or at least really exaggerated. And I don't know why he even told this. It just sounded weird as hell. So he said this was back when he was in his like 20s or something, but he's walking with his girlfriend and some teenagers started talking shit to them. So of course he just starts kicking ass.
To hit me, I kind of duck. It's very awkward. Nobody's tough here, okay?
Yeah.
I think
it's a shit fest.
It's a shit fest.
It's a Sesame Street.
Now a girl who's one of their friends comes over and goes, I remember, never forget it. She goes, how old are you? How old are you, sir, as I'm beating these kids up? Okay, but they're 18, so fuck those kids.
I don't think they were.
And I'm trying to kill the kid.
They definitely weren't. They were 13. But
no, definitely not 13.
You were 20.
The kid was. They were both my size. In fact, the two kids were tall. It wasn't saying much.
14 years old.
No, they're definitely not.
Especially the Puerto Ricans.
Long story short, and now I'm trying to punch this guy, and I'm
kid.
I can't hurt him.
Yeah, the kid's all.
I can't hurt him.
There we go, Bryan the Kid Callen beating up some kids. Good for him. Like, why is he bragging about this? It's so weird. And he says they're 18, like he checked their ID or something. And this story gets even crazier somehow. It takes a real dark turn. And, you know, I think this is all made up, so I don't think he's being serious here. But this is kind of concerning behavior.
Grabbed my girl, ran away. Now, here's what's great about the story. Here's how fucked up I am. I'm so angry.
Went back and got a gun.
That old bride gets in his car. I had an Acura, a white Acura. Old bride gets in his car, and I get a fucking stick. I had an axe handle. A hickory axe handle. Because I saw it in a movie somewhere. Somebody talking about hickory. And now I'm driving around looking for these fucking guys because I'm gonna hit him as hard as I can in the head. That's how crazy I was.
Why the fuck is he talking about this? He's acting like this makes him sound tough or something. It just makes him sound like a psychopath. Why would he admit that he's driving around with an axe handle looking to bash some kid in the head? And again, this story just sounds like bullshit, but it's still pretty weird that you just make this up and you would act like this is like cool or something, or like you're a tough guy for doing this. This does not make you look good. And also, he does get all defensive when you call out his stories, so maybe this is true. I don't know, because I have another clip here of when Brendan Schaub like questions like how many fights he's actually been in or how tough he is, and he gets so defensive. They get in a giant argument about it, and it's funny because I know a few people that are just like Bryan, maybe not like driving around with axe handles getting ready to bash people in the head, but you know, the kind of person that loves acting like they're this tough guy, and they get in street fights all the time, and you don't want to mess with them, and they will just feed you bullshit all day long, and you know, if you question their story, they're gonna get all defensive, so it's not even worth it half the time. So I could definitely understand where Brendan Schaub is coming from here. I'd be so annoyed listening to Bryan Callen's bullshit stories all day long.
And I've been in way more fights than you. Never once.
You've also been in. What I'm saying is you've also been in.
You're talking about street fights, right?
Yeah,
I've been street fights. I've been more street fights.
I don't think you've been in more than I've been. I don't. I've been in
you grew
a
up
lot.
rich. What are you talking?
Hold on. Don't tell me that because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You've been more fights than me.
I've been in as many fights as you've been in.
Oh my God.
In the street, I know you, dude. You don't fight. I know you. Don't tell me that.
Oh my God.
Wait. Why? You don't know me. You don't know how I grew up. As in getting in fights in a bar. You almost saw me get in 2 fights since you've known me. What are you talking about? Don't say that. You don't have the kind of temper I do. Don't act like you've been in more fights. You're acting like, oh, I grew up rich. First of all,
I promise you I've been in more fights than you, Bryan.
What? How many fights you been in?
I couldn't even count.
I know you. I know a lot of people. You grew up in. I know your personality. You weren't street fighting all the time.
This is the greatest argument ever. I love how Bryan's like, dude, you don't know me. You don't know how I grew up. You don't know if I've been in street fights. But then also at the same time, he's like, Brendan, I know you exactly. I know your personality. I know you haven't been in street fights. So he doesn't know you, but you know him exactly. And it's also weird that Bryan kind of brags about his temper and how he's like, yeah, you don't want to mess with me. All of a sudden, I'll like bash you in the head with an axe handle or something. Like, you shouldn't be bragging about this stuff. This isn't something to be proud of. And also, like, who cares who's been in more street fights? Like, that's another thing that you shouldn't be that proud of. I love listening to two grown men argue about who's been in more street fights. And honestly, I don't blame Brendan here for like arguing with him, because who the hell can sit here and listen to Bryan 24/7 talk about how he's a badass and he can fight everyone? He's been in so many fights.
I was street fighting with my brother, the neighborhood we grew up in.
Sure,
It's the way we grew up, B.
Yeah, I fought plenty in high school and in college.
Okay, you're some badass.
I'm not.
You're some
no,
badass street fighter.
Why are you saying I'm a badass? Why are you doing that? You're being insulting.
I'm not being insulting. I just called you badass.
No, you're not. You're being condescending. What you're saying?
How?
You're going, oh, you grew up rich and never fought. Don't say that. You don't know me.
Why are you so upset?
Because I have a bad temper.
Do you see? I'm not upset because I know it's true.
Exactly.
Because I know it's true.
God, this guy is so fragile. And I think he thinks that the more angry he gets, the tougher he is, or like the more he thinks he's winning the argument or something. This is just pathetic. I can't believe this dude is like 50 something. And now it makes sense why they call him the kid, because he acts like a kid. This is like the most childish shit I've ever seen.
I don't get defended.
So I'm making up stories.
You make up a lot of stories.
I make up a lot of stories? So I'm a liar.
Yeah.
I'm a liar?
Are you shitting me?
Tell me a story I've made up. A real story. First of all, be careful now how you speak.
Oh my God. I don't think this can get any better. Oh man, you're some tough guy. Be careful how you speak now. Dude, Brendan Schaub would kick your ass. And he's true. It's probably true. You do lie all the time. I hope you're lying. I hope you're lying about chasing around some kids with a fucking axe handle. And I love how confidently Brendan's like, yeah, responding to Bryan asking if he thinks he's a liar. Like, dude, yeah, I've been sitting here for years listening to you tell these bullshit stories. Of course you're lying. And also, I feel like if you're such a good fighter, or you've been in so many street fights or whatever this guy's trying to claim, who the hell really cares, like, what somebody else thinks? And why do you feel like you have to prove it so many times? Like, here's another clip I have here where Chris D'Elia asks Brendan Schaub if people come up to him and they just know him from like podcasting and they don't even realize that he's a fighter, and he's like, yeah, that happens all the time. And of course Bryan has to chime in and be like, yeah, same thing with me. And it seems like this is a joke almost, which maybe it is, but I don't know. I think he's kind of being serious here.
And they don't even know that you were a fighter? No.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, cool. Which I love.
That is awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Nothing makes me happier.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They do that to me too.
Sorry, what? What are you saying? Be specific.
You asked.
No, I'm asking you what you mean. So just say what you mean, because I'm trying to level myself out right now, right? But you're saying it sounds like it's gonna make me hot.
People come to me, and then when they assume that I'm just a comedian, right?
Yeah.
They don't know about your dark background.
Fluent with my hands and my feet, right?
Okay.
They don't know that I'm very comfortable, very at home, a bit of an ape on a mat, right? They don't know that.
Okay.
Okay.
Right?
A lot of people say ape on the mat.
Well,
that's not a term we would use.
Well,
in that
because I'm very strong. I'm surprisingly strong.
And
I use my legs and my feet almost fluently, like even as a grappler. Is that what you were asking?
I can't believe this guy. I hope he was joking there, because this is just embarrassing. Even though it did not sound like a joke, it sounded like he just, of course, wanted to chime in about how he's the best fighter ever and how people don't realize that he's a good fighter. Like, dude, who the hell cares? And this podcast is so backwards. Like, the actual fighter wants to be known as a comedian, and the comedian wants to be known as a fighter. All right, so there's just one more clip I want to play, and this is probably the best of them all. This is from an old Joe Rogan episode where Bryan, of course, starts going into about how he's like so tough and he gets so angry at people, and right away Joe and Brendan just call him out. And this podcast looked like it was from a while ago, so I guess Bryan did not take the hint here, and he still loves talking about how he's got a temper and how he's a badass and everything.
Oh,
he's looking.
You know what happened to me? I got bullied for a full year, and it turned me into a fucking. If somebody tried to bully me, I'll show up at your fucking house and kill you. That's what happens. I get so angry.
I'm not buying that even remotely.
Like that. I hate when.
I love their reaction to that, because you could tell they've been dealing with him for years, and they're just like, oh, here we go again.
It's not true.
You fucking bully me.
You
try bullying me right now, motherfucker.
You know what your problem is?
Hold on, let me handle this.
Here's the problem. You've talked to too many guys that let you say shit like that, and then it becomes like vernacular.
No,
it becomes like a
this
part
is
of the
what
way
I
you
do.
talk.
This is what I do.
Brian, look at all those people that I know, all those people that when I first met you, all those people you used to hang around with, those are all toxic, and they've ruined the way you're allowed to communicate with people.
Dan, they're just being straight up with them here. Like, dude, you hang around people that are just bullshitting each other all day long. And like I said earlier, I know people exactly like this. They will just tell you insane stories, and it's just like, all right, whatever. It's so hard to be around people like this.
Because they said stupid shit, and then you said stupid shit, and it was
fucks with me, bro, look at how my. What do you have to say to me,
bro? I watched a scary movie with him,
bro. I have to shut this podcast
Not yet. We have to hold on.
I watched a scary movie with him, and it was the most annoying thing ever.
Tell you what,
he goes, I fucking wish a demon would grab me, man. You know what I would do? And I'm like,
I get mad.
Why are you talking to me like this?
It's not that you get mad. It's that you hang around with people for a long time. You hung around with people that allowed you to talk like that.
I don't know how they can hang around him. He sounds like the most annoying person ever. He always needs to prove something.
No.
Without mocking you.
Who aren't tough. Who aren't tough.
Bros, listen up. I will fuck some. You bully me, bro. I don't give a shit about your UFC bullshit. I will fucking come right at you.
I could pin you on the ground right now and put my dick in your mouth.
You could try.
For no reason.
You could try, and guess what?
Just because it's the nice
Guess
Saturday.
what? I would fucking come right to your house. Bang, bang,
No,
bang.
you'd be dead.
Joe.
Would I?
Yep.
He needs friends like us because he gets around saying that with guys who don't know.
Well,
can't
he
wait to
hangs
box
around
today.
with
I
a
can't wait.
lot of idiots.
I love this. They're just putting him in his place, and they're just insulting all of his friends too. God, this shit's the best. Alright, so this is about it for this video. Thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you at the next one.